Hi, Gary Stearman. Welcome to another edition of Prophecy Watchers. I'm here with Bob Ulrich. We've got several things to talk about today. And Bob, I'd like to kick it off by talking about the Middle East. And we haven't commented on the Middle East for quite a while. There was a time when I used to do almost a daily update on the Middle East, and I've written much about the Middle East in prophecy. But I want to go back to the 26th of November and the 1st of December of the year 2014. We did two updates with Avi Lipkin on those dates. And Avi sat right here at this table, and he told us about somebody that we had never heard of, a group of people called the Houthis. The Houthis. And he said, "You haven't heard of them, have you?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, "You'll be hearing about them." And he said this authoritatively, Bob. You know how Avi is. When
Absolutely.
he says it, he says it.
It was Avi is a prophet and didn't even know it. But some of the things he has said here that day have come true, haven't they?
Absolutely. First of all, the Houthis are acting, and this is exactly what Avi told us. It's been 2 months ago, and he said, "Watch Yemen and watch the Houthis, because this is the back door into Saudi Arabia." The Houthis, he said, are an Iranian proxy. They are acting on behalf of the Shiite Muslims in Iran. And what you have is a giant pinchers movement. You have the Saudis looking to the north and seeing a crescent-shaped advance of the Shiites to their north, and of course with Iranian backing. Iran, Shiite Muslim, the Saudi Arabians, Sunni Muslim. They are opposing brothers, if you will, who have had decades-long, centuries-long conflicts between themselves. But here's the thing. The Iranians have now found a way to enter the back door of Saudi Arabia, and they have now overthrown the king of Yemen. This is right on the back door, on the southern border of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, by the way, the only country in the world named for a family, the Saud family. And they called their country Saudi Arabia. I guess that must be nice, be able to name a country after yourself. But they have stabilized themselves over the years by producing vast quantities of oil, which they have sold to the West. And they are, by the way, trying to flood the market right now with oil to destabilize the Iranian currency and also to discourage the Russians to the far north. Did you hear that? You have the Iranians, that's old Persia. You have the Russians. You have then these individuals called the Houthis, who are proxies of the Iranian Shiite Muslims to the south. And what you've got is a giant pinchers movement. Well, you need to go back and revisit our November 26th, December 1st updates, in which we interviewed Avi Lipkin. He said everything about the situation then that is coming to pass right now. And then to top it off, Bob, King Abdullah, who was a very powerful leader of the royal Saud family, died today, Friday morning, a lot earlier, since they're about 8 hours ahead of us over there. But all of this, the fall of the king of Yemen, the death of the Saudi king, and an invasion to the north, backed by the Iranians, has got Saudi Arabia in a pinchers movement. Avi Lipkin, 2 months ago, laid this out.
He did.
I'm blown away.
The king is dead. You know, we're all enjoying the lower oil prices, that Saudi Arabia is bringing. I know I am personally. I just wonder for how much longer that's going to continue now with all of the political changes that are no doubt coming.
Well, we're watching, and I have to go back to the Bible as we speak. The Bible is the authority, and Ezekiel 38 has a reference to the Saudi Arabian monarchies, plural, and there are several of them. Ezekiel 38:13 says, "Sheba and Dedan, merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil?" Now this is Ezekiel's prophecy of what I believe to be the latter-day Saudi Arabians. They're called Sheba and Dedan, but actually Sheba and Dedan would be the northern tribal group and the southern tribal group. And we see them represented here in a very uneasy way. They're saying, have you come down to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey? Are you coming to invade us, to try to overthrow us, to carry away silver and gold? And believe me, they've got silver and gold. To take away cattle and goods, take great spoil. So you have here the very thing that we see today, that we have the Arabian Emirates quaking in fear as the Iranians to the north, the Houthis to the south, and other groups, by the way. The Egyptians are watching all this very, very carefully too. And we have here exactly laid out in Ezekiel 38 a precursor event to the invasion. Well, I could go on, but I think that pretty much lays it out. And I would advise people to go back and see what Avi had to say on our November 26th and December 1st updates.
Well, the words of the prophecies of the Bible get a little clearer every day.
Oh, they do.
You know what I find really funny is, we like to think that we know what's going to happen in the future. We read these prophecies, right. And isn't it funny how things that are unexpected, the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood, whoever heard of the Houthis, how these things are happening, and we don't know about them until sometimes exactly when they happen, and God reveals this in his own perfect timing. But the trap is set. You can see the pieces of the puzzle almost literally falling into perfect position and perfect place for this future and near coming invasion of Israel.
Absolutely, because the real target here ultimately is Israel. And Israel has a fascinating array of powers. To the north, there are the Alawites and the king of Syria and the Lebanese, who are backed by the Shiite Muslims. And then over in the direction of Iraq, we have ISIS, who are Shiite Muslims, or Sunni Muslims, taking over there. And then as you go farther to the east, you have the Iranian Shiites. And all of these groups are positioning themselves for a great battle. Bob, it's got to be close.
It is. And the really good news is Avi Lipkin is going to be with us again in just a few weeks. Yeah. He's coming back over from Israel. And Avi Lipkin may very well be one of our first official television studio guests back to TV, just a few short weeks, because Gary and I are here today to let you know that we get the keys to our new building on February 1st.
Isn't that great?
That is exciting. That's 9 days from now. 9 days from now we move in, and we will begin to work feverishly to get our new studio set up, to get our furniture moved over, to get our phone systems and internet put in, all those little details that go into the planning. And Avi is going to be one of our first guests, we hope, on our new program, and that'll tell you something. We're just a few short weeks away.
We are, and Avi no doubt will have a Houthi update at that time. Remember, and by the way, right here on the Prophecy Watchers website, we've got a tab that you can click and go back to the archives, look up the November 26th, the December 1st updates with Avi, and believe me, it's a jaw-dropping revelation. It was for me. I went back
really
and looked at it, Bob, and I just couldn't believe it.
It's not the first time he's done this, though. Avi is really insider, to say the least.
Yeah.
While you're there on the webpage, be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. It's free.
Yeah.
Just yesterday we sent out a link to an L.A. Marzulli program. We sent out a link to an article you wrote on the falling away. And we sent out a book that's already become very controversial in prophetic circles. We're going to be in Israel March 15th through 25th with, of all people, Avi Lipkin. He and his son are the tour organizers. And while we're there, we're going to be looking at two locations specifically in Israel very closely, because we're extremely curious about where Solomon's temple was built. And there's a new book out by Bob Cornuke that is drawing a lot of controversy, a lot of comments. You see it up on your screen there. It's called The Temple. Yeah, Why don't you talk a little bit about the controversy, because you know a whole lot more about it than I do.
Well, essentially, there are several views of where the temple was originally built. There's the old model by archaeologist Asher Kaufman that has the temple located to the north, basically, of today's Mosque of Omar. That is the Golden Dome Mosque. And then there is another hypothesis. It's the Lean-Rittmeyer hypothesis that has the location of the temple right at the Mosque of Omar. And then there's a third opinion. And Dr. Ernest L. Martin, about 12 to 13 years ago, published a book called The Temples That Jerusalem Forgot, in which he posited that the temple was located down in the city of David near the spring of Gihon, which would have put it well south of today's Temple Mount. And so we've got those three views. There are two of them that are very, very popular right now. The Lean-Rittmeyer hypothesis that has the temple at the Mosque of Omar, and this book, Bob Cornuke, in which he takes up the argument that it was down near the spring of Gihon, and he devotes this book to some research and to his travels, where he relates a couple of anecdotes where he believes that he has seen some of the remnants that have recently been uncovered of the old temple down near the city of David. So we've got a controversy brewing. Where was the temple located? And by the way, we've got that book, and we've got some other offerings as well.
Well, Lean Rittmeyer's written a couple of books. In fact, this one, there's only 6 copies of this in our bookstore because those are the only 6 copies that exist. This book's going out of print. It's called The Quest. It's coming back in print with a new publisher, probably not for some period of time. 6 copies left in the bookstore. Believe me, this is a book that is a national treasure. Lean also wrote another book, Secrets of Jerusalem's Temple Mount. You'll find that in the bookstore today too. Gary, we're going to see these sites for ourselves.
We are.
In just 50 days.
And they've done some archaeological work in the area of the Temple Mount recently, where they've uncovered the old Herodian streets that have literally been buried for 2,000 years.
Which is amazing.
Oh, it is amazing. And I would love to get somewhere near that if possible. We're going to do everything we can to take a look at archaeological developments in Israel. So it's going to be an exciting time. We live, Bob, in a time when developments in thinking related to Bible prophecy are just coming one after another.
Things are happening quickly. By the way, we've got 6 seats left on the bus for the Israel tour. Still an opportunity for you to get involved, to join Gary and I. Our wives are coming with us. Daniel Wright is coming. Avi Lipkin and his son will be there. It's going to be a tour. It's called the Scholars Tour. The Scholars Insider Tour. It's going to be a tour like no other with an Israeli insider like Avi Lipkin with us.
Indeed. And by the way, Avi has aspirations of joining the Knesset, which adds an exciting dimension to this trip because all that's going to happen about the same time that we're there. So we'll get a face-to-face update about events in the Knesset, events in the life of the Lipkin household and Avi himself. And when he speaks, people listen. So
this is true.
It's going to be great.
You know, we launched the Prophecy Watchers on September 19th. It's just been a little more than 4 months. In just 4 months, the Lord's given us a building. He's given us 2 television studios. He's given us all of our office furniture, our office equipment, our computers, our audio equipment. I mean, literally everything we need to start our ministry has happened. Moving into this building in 9 days is a big thing. We've done that on the backs of this little book here, Time Travelers of the Bible. Believe it or not, over 1,500 people have donated money to our ministry. They've been given this book for a gift of any amount. Many people have been extremely generous. They've enabled us not only to acquire what we need, but to pay cash for everything. I mean, our ministry is debt-free. And in 9 days, when we move into this new building, it's going to be an exciting time. We've got some big surprises that we're going to announce probably on the day we move in, because I think reality will set in at that point and we'll realize this has actually happened. We've acquired this building. We've acquired this television studio. We're keeping this offer on the table for just a little short period of time longer. For a gift of any amount, we'll send you a copy of Gary's book, Time Travelers of the Bible. Now, I just want to read a couple of the chapter titles out of here because this book is really unlike anything that I have ever read, probably unlike anything anyone has ever read. This is a lifetime of study. This isn't something Gary sat down and wrote in a month or two. You just read through the table of contents, which is 28 chapters long, 539 pages. The dark side of time travel, millennial man, multi-dimensional encounters in the spirit world, Satan impaled on the arrow of time. Now that's a fascinating chapter. Paradise in 5 dimensions, the adventures of Ezekiel and the time machine, knowing the future or being the future, the software of time, Jerusalem, a city on the edge of eternity, heaven, a parallel universe, trans-dimensional raiders, the demons, from Patmos to Persia, back from the future, Joshua's great leap in time, and on and on and on and on it goes. I said to Gary the other day, it must be a really good feeling to have a book in your hand and have your name on it. It's probably something I'll never experience because it takes a really unique perspective to be an author. I have great respect for writers. It's such a difficult job to come up with original thinking and original ideas, not copy the works of others. There's nothing copied in here. This is original material from the mind of someone who I have great respect for.
One of the chapters features a quote from Paul. The Apostle Paul actually mentioned 4 dimensions: length, width, breadth, and height. And you stop and think about that. Wait a minute. We live in a world of length, width, and breadth, but height? Paul actually mentions 4 dimensions when he's talking about the world of God, the world of God's creation. So even an apostle moved a little bit over the edge into what today would be called scientific thinking when he mentioned another dimension, which I think is fascinating. And I pursue that a little bit in this book.
Gary, you make me laugh. You make me laugh. You said to me a couple of weeks ago, Bob, I think completely differently than everyone else. And over the last 21 years since I've known you, I can accurately say that is very true. Well, anyway, it's a wonderful book. It's available for donation of any amount to the Prophecy Watchers on the internet, in our post office box, at our website, prophecywatchers.com.
Yeah. Well, Bob, it's been a great pleasure to spend a little time with you today. Things are happening in the Middle East, and we're going to keep track of those and report on them. And we'll be talking to our friend Avi Lipkin. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody.